This is the Dollemore Daily, and I'm Jesse Dollemore.
So Congressman Matt Gaetz is the grody-ass gift that keeps on giving. I talked the other day in detail about the reporting about the federal investigation into the possibility, we'll just call it that, the possibility that Matt Gaetz trafficked a 17-year-old girl across state lines, paid for her hotel room for the purposes of less than Christian. We'll try to keep this video monetized since the last one I did was demonetized. I think we all understand what I'm talking about here. Well, the reason I say that he is the gift that keeps on giving is because now it's being reported by the New York Times that not only did all that stuff go on, and not only did he do everything he did during the previous campaign and during the administration of Donald Trump to try to prop up Donald Trump as a legitimate leader, as a legitimate president, as a non-fascist jerk-off, he also, at the end of Donald Trump's term, according to the New York Times and their sources, sought blanket preemptive pardons for him and congressional allies for whatever crimes they may have committed, which would have encompassed the child trafficking allegations and charges that are likely forthcoming. This article in the New York Times, Matt Gaetz, loyal for years to Trump, is said to have sought a blanket pardon. The congressman was at the time under investigation over whether he violated sex trafficking laws, though it was unclear what he knew of the inquiry. Listen, we know Matt Gaetz is a skeevy jerk-off. Got to think of some new adjectives here, some new zingers. The Frankenstein monster Jr., Matt Gaetz, was very adroit at having his nose surgically implanted right up the butthole of Donald Trump. He is a poster child for brown-nosing. Reading from the New York Times here, Representative Matt Gaetz, Republican of Florida, was one of President Donald J. Trump's most vocal allies during his term, publicly pledging loyalty and even signing a letter nominating Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. In the final weeks of Mr. Trump's term, Mr. Gaetz sought something in return. He privately asked the White House for blanket preemptive pardons for himself and unidentified congressional allies for any crimes they may have committed, according to two people told of the discussions. Around that time, Mr. Gaetz was also publicly calling for broad pardons from Mr. Trump to thwart what he termed the bloodlust of their political opponents, but Justice Department investigators had begun questioning Mr. Gaetz' associates about his conduct, including whether he had a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old that violated sex trafficking laws, in an inquiry that grew out of the case of an indicted associate in Florida. So, one, him asking for preemptive blanket pardons for, I want to get it right, for any crimes they may have committed means that they committed crimes. If not this, which I think is highly unlikely that it's not the case that he did what they're investigating, if not this, something else. If not this, there needs to be other investigations looking into what indeed Matt Gaetz and his congressional allies did, what crimes they committed. And two, it's just hypocrisy, hypocrisy, hypocrisy. The GOP is now the party of QAnon, which railed on and on and on and on and on about save the children, concocting some fantasy that Donald Trump was a lone warrior against child trafficking and there was going to be a reckoning. There was going to be this day of reckoning where Donald Trump brought them all down. The storm, or some nonsense they called it. And then where's QAnon now? Crickets. I wish I could make a cricket sound. Crickets from Republicans and QAnon idiots on Matt Gaetz. We're going to wait and see what the investigation bears out. Even though they all know he's the skeeviest of skeeves and the scummiest of scum. They know the character of Matt Gaetz. Calling and leaving sideways inappropriate messages for other female members of Congress. You whiny little turd, Matt Gaetz. In fact, he is, by the way, such a brownnoser, getting back to that he wrote in his book. Matt Gaetz wrote in his book, quote, "The president has called me when I was in my car, asleep in the middle of the night on my Longworth office cot, on the throne, on airplanes, in nightclubs, and even in the throes of passion." Parenthetically, he says, "Yes, I answered." Gross. In one sentence, he's talking about pooping and having sex with people and talking to Donald Trump at the same time. In a book that a congressman wrote. And all this fawning adulation of Donald Trump and little weird humble brags come because he is the chief brownnoser of brownnosers. Donald Trump is known to have said, called Matt Gaetz a great talent, young and handsome, and predicted that he's going places. Matt Gaetz is going places. Little did we know the places he would go. Prison. And little did we know he would go to prison so quickly. Obviously, the investigation is yet to be come to fruition. We don't know where it's going to go, but it might lead elsewhere. It might lead to other members of Congress from the Republican Party who are pals of Matt Gaetz and Donald Trump. Don't you find it curious? Do you not find it curious, my loyal, beautiful audience, that there are so many people surrounding Donald Trump who just so happen to be credibly accused or convicted of abusing women and children, including Donald Trump himself. The party of family values. Disgusting, vile, sickening hypocrites. Scumbags, everyone to be sure. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think. If you're one of these Republicans out there and you disagree, I'd love to hear from you. You can leave me a voicemail, short, brief voicemail. Google will cut you off, 2-3 minutes. 714-576-4054. Of course, you can always email me daily at dollemore.com. I appreciate every single one of you. Listen, if I'm coming up on 300,000 subscribers right now. If you get served my content and you haven't actually clicked, I may try to make a click sound, but it almost came out as a boop. If you haven't clicked the button to subscribe, why don't you subscribe? And if you have subscribed and you haven't set your notification, ring the bell, and do the YouTube stuff. I'm not good at talking about all the YouTube stuff, but subscribe. It is a good time around here. Sometimes we talk about things that are less goofy than this. But I'd love to have you in the family, helping produce my content. Speaking of helping produce my content, I would very much appreciate if you are in a financial position to do so, to click the join button and look into becoming a channel member. Clicking the button doesn't join you automatically. There's steps involved, but click it. See what's involved. For fewer than $2 a month, you can click the join button, become a channel member, and help produce this content. Be a producer of this show, helping support independent analysis and commentary on the news, talking about these dipshits, lots of other things. Anyway, I'd love for that to happen. I'd love for you to consider it. Thank you for engaging with my content. Follow me on social media. Love to see you there. And I'll see you next time, which won't be soon. It won't be long. Until I do see you, take care of one another. Be genuine.